Iron Eagle 1, the movie everyone says copied Top Gun, actually came out earlier that same year, but today we're talking its sequel, the unequal follow-up in 1988 that tried to single-handedly end the Cold War. We'll explain how in just a moment. Roll the song.
We all love the first one, but the second movie sucked. Trying to catch lightning in a bottle, 2 times takes a lot of luck. Brian, Tim, and Dave are watching movies that are lame. These are the sequels that aren't equal.
Hello and welcome to Sequels That Aren't Equal, the show that looks at beloved major motion pictures that get a follow-up film afterwards that falls well short of the mark. Welcome to today's show. We are talking 1988's Iron Eagle 2. I am your co-host, Brian.
I'm Dave. And I'm Tim. I picked this one.
This is a Tim pick for sure. So, like I said in the cold open, Iron Eagle actually came out in 1986, right? It was 86.
Yeah, 86.
Which was the year of Top Gun.
Yeah, came out January 86 and Top Gun was May 86.
Right, and it's funny because in my mind, and I'm sure in the mind of many, many people, it was a ripoff of Top Gun. I mean, I saw them both when I was a kid, but in my mind, Top Gun was so predominant that it just kind of blows away Iron Eagle. So much so that I thought Iron Eagle was the copycat of Top Gun, but it actually beat it to the theaters by 5 months.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a situation a few years back where you had The Prestige and The Illusion as 2 dueling magician movies that came out at the same time. Assuming it's something like that. I don't know which one was in development first or heard about the other.
Right, or like the 2 volcano movies in the late 90s.
Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that happens every so often in Hollywood. This is a case, though, where I feel like it actually hurt Iron Eagle to be second out of the gate, because when I was a kid and Top Gun came out, like all of a sudden F-16s were the coolest thing ever. All of a sudden my favorite toy, of course, became the Striker, the G.I. Joe F-16 toy. Very cool toy.
And then Cobra had the Blackbird.
Yeah.
That was a dope plane right there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, a lot of mileage playing with that. Of course, on the 8-bit Nintendo NES, I had the Top Gun game.
One of the hardest games ever. Landing on the aircraft carrier is a test in patience.
Yeah,
a lot of controllers were broken over that game. They were thrown, they were flung, and other people.
Down.
The feather touch up the down.
And that dope grass.
Anybody play Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins in the background while they were playing, acting like they were in the actual movie?
No, but doesn't it play as part of the 8-bit version? Oh, yeah.
Not as cool as the original Kenny Loggins version. I mean, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Who an artist we have mentioned before on.
It's a shame that Playing with the Boys was not put on the 8-bit Nintendo.
The volleyball scene. I mean, how is there not a cut scene in that? Like in Double Dribble, how does he not have Val Kilmer just spiking the ball over the net? Man, there's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. So, as I was saying, when Top Gun came out, I was, about 8, 9. So, I had F-16 fever. That's a case where had Iron Eagle pushed and followed up with that, it would have really captured the imagination of young people, because that was part of that 80s wish fulfillment track of movies where they would put a teen or a young kid in a crazy situation and have a wish fulfillment movie, sort of like E.T. with My Best Friend Is Now an Alien, or Explorers, where young kids build a spaceship and go to space. Last Starfighter, where a kid gets recruited to, fly a spaceship based on video games. So all those 80s wish fulfillment movies, Iron Eagle 1 definitely slots right in there with that, where a teenage kid, fresh out of graduating high school, steals an F-16 and goes to rescue his dad. Crazy film.
Yeah. It's believable. No stuff. 80s movies go. You can't anything to We talked about Flight of the Navigator. Is that a wish fulfillment movie? Even though the kid never wished to go into a spaceship, it's basically kidnapped by the spaceship. I mean, this is 10 to 12 years of his life. And he comes back into the future.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a list.
I would say it is, just because as a kid, that's your fantasy, right? I want to fly a spaceship.
As an audience member, wish fulfillment. Right. Projecting, I want to fight aliens in space.
Right. Just like I want to fly an F-16, which we certainly all did when we were 8 in 1986. So let us do some table setting with the first Iron Eagle. Do we have some notes on that one?
Yeah, well, Iron Eagle came out in 1986. TriStar. Director is Sidney Furie. It's written by a couple of guys, by Sidney Furie, the director, and Kevin Elders. Stars the man who's somewhere in between Billy D. Williams and Samuel L. Jackson's Louis Gossett Jr. I'm going to take you right into the Louis Gossett Jr. zone. And then it's got Jason Cedric. Is that how we want to say his last name?
Sure.
Cedric. He's kind of like the Matt Dillon. If you can't get Matt Dillon, you get this guy. And that's what Iron Eagle 2 did. I'm sure
Iron Eagle 1.
Iron Eagle, my bad. Iron Eagle 1. He is an Iron Eagle 2 also, but I'm sure they went after Matt Dillon first. You had to offer him the role first, right?
Yeah, right. Or like Tom Cruise, who would have turned him down because...
Yeah, I'm a Top Gun, bro.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know why that kid didn't have a bigger career, because he was good. He had good screen presence, good-looking kid. You know, in a movie where he's flying around in an F-16. So, yeah, why...
Killer mullet?
Yeah, killer 80s mullet. Why didn't he blow up bigger? That's the big question.
Yeah, he was like CEO in the front and hardcore party in the back. You know what I'm saying? He was next level in front and back, which is a rare to mullet. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is a movie I remember my dad taking me to as a kid. I remember enjoying it, but it didn't spark the imagination like the Top Gun did. Just not as well shot. I mean, Top Gun is an amazingly well photographed movie.
Yeah, well, Tony Scott, you know, that's the difference right there. I mean, Sidney Furie, the name kind of sounds familiar to me. Not sure, but Tony Scott, I can name 3 or 4 Tony Scott films right off the top of my head. One of them being True Romance.
Right.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. Now, funny thing about Sidney Furie, as I was researching this show, he actually has a very long career. He was born in the 30s in England. Did a bunch of like kind of indie movies. He did a biopic pick on what's her name? I almost said Billie Eilish. Billie Holiday, right? The jazz singer, which actually got a lot of attention around 70, 71. So a certain studio named Paramount came around and offered him the directing role of one of the greatest movies of all time. Can you take a guess what early 70s movie the director of Iron Eagle was offered and turned down?
Paramount.
Oh,
Was Jaws Paramount?
that was Universal Studios.
Okay. Early 70s. I gotta think. Give me 10 seconds on this. Early
70s, considered by many to be the greatest film of all time, is certainly in
Godfather?
Godfather. So Paramount Pictures offers, and I have to look at the guy's name because he's like that memorable of a name when he could have been the director of The Godfather. Yeah, Sidney Furie was offered The Godfather by Paramount, turned it down over budget fights with the studio, and they said, you know what, maybe we should have an Italian direct this film since it's about Italian-American culture. Went with some plucky upstart by the name of Francis Ford Coppola, and the rest is history. Cinema history.
Anything else after we got?
Yeah, I know, right? But that was Sidney's shot that he failed, but he did co-write Iron Eagle, as we said, a very wish fulfillment movie of 1986 about what would happen if a teenage kid could fly an F-16 into the Middle East and almost start an international war. It had a budget of $18 million, box office $24 million, so a modest success, not a blockbuster, but probably did very well on video because it got 3 follow-ons.
I mean, if it benefited from anything, of course, it gets the stigmata of being a Top Gun ripoff, but as we see right here, it came out before Top Gun. So after Top Gun came out in theaters, it probably had, back in the 70s and 80s, people don't realize that movies would stay in theaters for months, years almost.
Yes.
I remember seeing Top Gun in the summer of 86, then seeing it again like in February of 87.
Sure.
It was always at the theater.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it got the stigmata of being a Top Gun ripoff, even though it came out first. But then when it came out on VHS, people, like you said, were F-16 hungry. Like Tom Cruise, Anthony Edwards, Meg Ryan, Tony Scott, they lit the fire. Val Kilmer, those guys lit the fire to make Iron Eagle a big-time VHS success. I remember that was hard to get on VHS. If you had a small town video store, this is before Blockbuster, this is before the big chains
right.
really took grip. Because maybe when a video store maybe had 2 or 3 copies at the most, you'd have to wait a couple weeks to see a movie, and it was really stressful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, back in the day with the mom and pop video stores, like you said, at most 3 copies. So it was always about hanging out right at opening, seeing who's dropping off last night's videos in the box before they open so they don't get a late fee, and then being there to knock on the door and be like, yeah, I saw they dropped that in the box. I need that copy.
I remember there used to be a list that has like stuff reserved. You always had that one kid on the bus or in gym class or whatever who seen it right away. Always wanted to talk about it. Of course, you did not want to listen. You wanted to listen to see like, oh, am I going to like this movie? And I remember Iron Eagle and a lot of movies were like that. There was no such thing as a spoiler alert. People spoiled stuff all the time back in the day because it might take you, 2 or 3 months to even see the movie sometimes.
No, absolutely.
How popular it was. So,
yeah.
God forbid somebody had to get a late fee on a movie like that. You got to wait an extra day. Oh, so frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember seeing at least a few times as a kid. Like, I didn't really remember the plot. I just remember, there's some fighter planes and some kind of rescue mission. It was cool. I mean, obviously, Top Gun played all the time. I mean, I remember one of my best friends down the streets, his dad was a Air Force fighter pilot, and so Top Gun was just on constant rotation. That was always playing. So yeah, I know I grew up on Top Gun, and I remember seeing Iron Eagle and being like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then, but didn't really ever keep watching it until we're like, all right, yeah, let's do Iron Eagle 2. I rewatched 1. I'm like, this is wild. This plot, it's crazy. Oh, absolutely. No, the plot to Iron Eagle is fun. I enjoyed I rewatched it as well to get ready for this. Hadn't seen it since I was a kid. Really enjoyed watching it. Super 80s, very 80s movie. If you like cheesy 80s movies, Top Gun. See, look, I did it now. Iron Eagle is a solid recommendation. Let's just go in very briefly the plot of Iron Eagle 1, just so that we can then see how that curtails into Iron Eagle 2. Tim, do you want to walk us through Iron Eagle 1?
Oh, yeah. Jason's character is, a military brat kid.
Doug.
Yeah, Doug. That's his name.
Doug.
He has a motorcycle, right?
A plane. Because he races the kid on the motorcycle.
Yeah. Okay, he races the kid on the motorcycle. All right, check. So it starts out his dad's on a mission overseas, gets shot down.
Undetermined Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, they never really tell you what country it was. Even
don't.
In the second one, they don't even tell you which country it was. I mean, I don't know. It seems like we were living in a time in the 70s, 80s. We weren't scared to offend anybody. But, we are buying our oil from these places. So, we didn't want to, spark any gas stoppers because, we're still coming off that 70s where it's hard to get gas.
Right.
We don't want to lift off and then, piss off some Arab prince and cut off our supply. But anyway.
It's like Libya or Iran, something like that. But they don't ever name the Middle Eastern country that shoots him down.
So anyway, his dad, gets convicted in court. He's now a prisoner. And so Doug, who was training to be in the Air Force Academy.
He's a high school senior.
Yeah. He's out partying with his friends, having a good time. They're at a drive-in, kind of like a Sonic's, but it's like a mom and pop Sonic. That was really big back in the day, and even into the 80s, they were still standing. Those are some awesome places. So if you ever see one that's not a Sonic, by all means, stop by, give them your business. There's actually one in Bristol, Tennessee, where I'm from. It's called the Blue Circle Burger. Great food. Stop by there. It's an old school American drive-in. But anyway, they're at this place, partying, having a good time. Then, Doug has some rivals. He has some guys who has beef with him. I don't know if these guys are Air Force kids themselves, but it seems like they're kind of like anti-Air Force, like making fun of me for wanting to go to the Air Force Academy.
Correct.
I feel like
the base kids go to the same normie high school as the normie kids.
Yeah. Gotcha. So they're normies.
They're the normie kids.
And it's a nice classic 80s, 70s style, multicultural gang friends. So, whatever you want to call them, gangs, friends, whatever. You'll see a lot of these guys from Karate Kid. Now, I'm really not sure if Karate Kid was TriStar or not, or whatever, but maybe the casting director was the same, because it seems like there's a lot of Karate Kid
extras in the background. Of course, his best friend played by the same guy who played Styles and Teen Wolf.
Oh yeah, Styles and Teen. God, I love Styles.
I was excited to see Styles.
Oh, Styles! I haven't seen him in a while. I thought he was like the coolest guy in the whole world.
Oh yeah, when I was there was no one cooler than Styles. He would go car surfing on a van. Yeah.
You wanted to be Styles at the party. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You wanted to be the ringmaster. That's what I've strived my whole life to be Styles in Teen Wolf.
Oh, you walk out of that movie, you don't want to be the wolf. You want to be
Styles, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sell some soda, you know, some Teen Wolf merch in the stands, make a little extra money, you know. Yeah. So anyway, he gets, his little brother comes to him with a letter, correct? Or somehow the letter gets delivered to him at the drive-in. He finds out whether he makes the Air Force Academy or not. Of course, he didn't make it.
He didn't make it in.
Yeah. He didn't make it in, so he's bummed. And so the normies find out, and they start giving him a hard time, and a fight ensues.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's also a female who's trying to, you know, I guess like his love interest.
His love interest.
Yes, you're introduced to her. But you'll notice a lot of these kids from Karate Kid, most notably is the kid that goes, "Get a body bag." He's one of the normie guys. So yeah, so he plays another great teen villain in this one, Iron Eagle.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we go on and say, you know, he goes on to steal a plane, and he meets up with Louis Gossett Jr., which is called Chappie in this film.
Chappie.
Yeah. And Louis Gossett Jr. is somewhere between Billy D. Williams and, you know, Samuel Jackson. He's kind of got like that, you know, he could be like the smooth guy. He can be like the hard ass, you know?
That's
like
a great way of describing him, yeah.
He's that kind of actor. He's got a good range. And
He's got a good range.
If you
Great
want
presence. Great screen presence.
When Louis Gossett Jr. comes on the screen in any movie he's in, he takes over that scene. And I never wonder why he was not in bigger stuff. He seems like a good, capable actor to me. Digstown is a movie with him and James Woods. I think it's either late 80s, early 90s, like a convict, you know, it's kind of like Quick and the Dead. He's going through all these big major fighters and all these, you know, penal institutions, jails, prisons or whatever, become like the top boxing prisoner. So that's a great Louis Gossett Jr. If you want to know what Louis Gossett Jr. can do, he's also in a great 80s sci-fi movie with Dennis Quaid called Enemy Mine.
Yeah.
Which is such an underrated film. So those are two Louis Gossett Jr. bangers. And you'll see him like sprinkled out through other 80s and 90s movies.
Yes, he does show up a lot in supporting roles. And that's a great point. He is so good that why didn't he become like a Morgan Freeman or a Samuel Jackson, you know, back in the day?
Yeah, I feel like he could have played a lot of Samuel Jackson parts because he plays a good hard ass. He's intimidating a lot of times. And he's Top Gun's movie, but he also has that soft side to him that makes him a great character for this movie.
Yeah, he's a great character.
He knows when to be the father figure, and he knows when to be the hard-ass son of a bitch. And you especially see more of that, I think, in Iron Eagle 2, as he tries to get a ragtag bunch of misfits together, Russian and U.S. side, together for a mission. So and there's some great Louis Gossett Jr.'s in Iron Eagle 2.
So we won't break down the entire plot of Iron Eagle 1, but basically the very incredible plot, and I mean incredible as in not believable, not as in, oh my God, this is incredible.
Like it is.
Yeah, well, there's a scene we have to talk about. It is both usages of the word incredible, I guess. And it is so, he doesn't get into the Air Force Academy. He finds out that his father has been shot down in unnamed Middle Eastern country. He lives on the base, so he goes to the base, you know, general or whatever, and he's like, hey, so what's going on? You guys gonna go fly a mission, rescue my dad? And they're like, no, this is actually, you know, there's politics involved.
We can't touch this.
You know, we actually have to like go through political channels through the State Department and handle this. We can't just fly out in F-16s to start World War III.
You like fossil fuels?
Yeah.
You like burning your car?
So that's what he's been told. He doesn't like that answer, which leads to, of course, the scene that you're talking about. That's my favorite scene in the movie, where he gets all his fellow friends who are, you know, all the army brat kids, gets together. Yeah, he's basically like, well, the government's not going to rescue my dad, so I guess it's up to me. I've got a plan. And then it goes to the montage. The 80s montage. Gotta love a good montage set to, you know, Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it anymore, right? And the tone and the energy for the scene is very much like this group is that they were going up against either the civilian kids who've been pranking us and we're gonna, you know, get them, or you know, stuffy high school principal that they're them back from having their fly club or something. Yeah, they're the
not supportive like Mr. Belding.
The administration's gonna shut down the dance, not on our watch. We're gonna show them. Like, so that's the tone and energy when in fact they are committing high treason. Oh, high treason. Not even light treason. They are straight to Guantanamo Bay, black site CIA.
Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, high treason. Yeah. Like really high.
It's this wild plan. Like one kid's like, yeah, I'll distract my mom and then hack the mainframe. He talked about hacking the Department of Defense system then there's like the two girls and they like spill coffee on their dad, like, huh? And then they steal like the satellite images of the site. Like, yes. Just the most highly sensitive, top secret material. And yeah, and then steal fighter planes.
Oh yeah, so they
From
flew
an
an
Air
Air
Force
Force
base. The thing I love about the 80s is we knew computers were powerful, but we didn't quite understand how they work. So of course there's the scene where there's the computer nerd and he gets on the mainframe and he does some typing and he reallocates an F-16. So Doug, the teenage kid, just walks up and they're like, well, it says here the computer tells us to give you this F-16, so here's the keys, have it back by 8, you know, and that was kind of the energy of that scene.
Little did he know he could win. He could do the same thing by drinking a bunch of Pepsis. You know, just a few years later. Yeah.
Save up those Pepsi points.
Yeah, if you've never seen Pepsi Owes Me a Fighter Jet, great documentary on Netflix. It's hilarious.
So in typical 80s wish fulfillment fashion, Doug, a teenager, has learned to fly fighter jets by basically playing video games, okay? Yes, they do say it's the flight simulator, but he, you know, logs in. He says more hours than any other guy on this base, which is actually kind of hard to believe because those are all men in their late 20s, early 30s, and he's still 17. So really, could he log in more flight hours than them? But, you know, he logs in flight hours in the simulator, even though he's never really flown an F-16.
Is he the first gamer? Does he predate Billy Mitchell?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, on the base is Chappie. Chappie is a reservist Air Force pilot who's still on the base because he is a mechanic. He maintains some of the planes.
Yeah, the older planes.
The
like
older
VNC
planes, yeah.
planes.
He doesn't
it's
obviously
kind of cool job.
maintain the fighter jets, but like kind of the show planes that they have from bygone eras, he'll fix those up. And then he goes to Chappie, basically gives him a speech like, oh, they're not helping out my dad, and you're just as much of a pussy as everyone else because you're not helping me go help my dad. Because Chappie, I guess, is friends with the dad. And he's like, oh, I'll show you. I'm friends with your dad, and friends stick together. And so let's steal a plane and go get them. Bomb a sovereign nation and bomb it. Started it or that solicited.
Let's do it, kid.
So so basically, like I said, they steal not one but two F-16 fighter pilots, and Doug and Chappie fly over to unnamed Middle Eastern nation to bomb him. One thing I love about Doug is he flies through the power of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got a Walkman cassette player with him always, and when he's, you know, flying, he always puts on the rock and roll music.
Good mixtape maker, you know what I'm saying? They're always mixtapes. Never a cassette bought from a store.
No.
With
They're
a band's
all
catalog on his mixtapes. That's how you did it back in the day, kids. You mix your own tapes.
Oh, off the radio, old school.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not like cool bands like Metallica or something that would have been around in 86. No, they're very pop rock.
If you told me they were Christian rock bands, I believe you.
Yeah, very
sax on that level. Yeah. Not Wasp cool, you know, not Striper cool or anything like that.
Yeah, not the kind of bands you would think you would listen to if you were stealing F-16.
Yeah. They would open for Amy Grant.
Yeah.
That's what these bands I'd open for.
Yeah. So Doug and Chappie fly over to the Middle East. Chappie gets shot down but survives. And then Doug completes the mission, saves his father single-handedly, and returns to the U.S. And in typical like 80s movie fashion, they're like, we should try you for treason and put you away for the rest of your life, but since what you did is so embarrassing, we're just gonna be quiet about it. And as long as you promise not to tell anyone what you did, we won't convict you for high treason. And so that's how he got out of it. And then they also say, and you know, one way we can keep you quiet is by admitting you into the Air Force Academy. And so Doug gets everything he wants. He gets to fly his fighter jet. He gets in aerial combat with several MiG fighters, shooting them down. He's highly trained in other country that he takes on
with ease.
Yeah,
with the power of rock and roll.
Yeah, and the power of rock and roll on his side. Of course, there are ground defenses. He destroys them. He kills men. And he goes and he rescues his dad. They sweep it under the rug. Happy 80s ending. Yeah, and that was Iron Eagle 1. And so that brings us to Iron Eagle 2.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Doug mows down a lot of experienced Russian MiG pilots with pretty much relative ease. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he looks like he's Top Gun, Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, Iceman had a baby and it ended up being Doug.
Well, through the power of rock and roll.
Yeah.
As long as he's listening to his rock music,
no problem.
undefeated.
You know, he doesn't have great taste in music, but not the bands I would listen to. There's no, and this is another thing. Can we say about Iron Eagle 2? Because we know Iron Eagle 1. We know Top Gun has amazing soundtrack. And it rocks top to bottom. Berlin, Kenny Loggins, Jerry Lee Lewis, a lot of bangers on there. Would Iron Eagle be a better movie if it actually had like I said, Twisted Sister, not a bad song, but if it had like the kind of soundtrack support that Top Gun had?
Oh, of course it would. Yeah, certainly.
Even like the score, how Top Gun has that, saying something like that.
Score.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. So is there a chance to make Iron Eagle better just by soundtrack alone?
Yeah, that would make it better. Although the real cheesy 80s music is part of the charm.
Sure.
I mean, it is a very likable movie. It's a very watchable movie. It's not like a great movie. I mean, you are watching it because it is like a time capsule of,
and that's what it's for.
mid-80s.
The clothes. I mean, a lot of stuff in Top Gun, just very traditional fashion. I'm sure that was the intent of Tony Scott. He didn't want to put it, like you said,
It
in a
doesn't
time
feel
capsule.
dated.
Yeah. No. But the thing about Iron Eagle is you'll see 80s clothes that you'll be like, man, that jacket is at least worth $2,000 right now. Here's the vintage Florida. There's a lot of beautiful clothes in there. Looks like 80s stuff. And you'll see anything you can imagine from the 80s is in this movie. It's glorious. It is, like you said, a time capsule. Well, let me ask you this question. Is Iron Eagle a better movie if Louis Gossett Jr. gets goosed? Like if he dies during the mission when he got shot down? Is it a better movie? Does it give Doug more incentive to avenge his father and Chappie at the same time?
I definitely think it would have given it more pathos, certainly, yeah. Would have given it more gravitas, because now he's doing it for Chappie, rescuing his dad.
And, Chappie gave his life to, for his father's life.
Yeah.
I think it would have meant more, but then it also takes away that innocence of the movie.
Yes, because again, it's wish fulfillment. So in the end, he gets everything he wants. Yeah. Right? In the end, everything works out okay, and Chappie's okay. My dad's okay. Everyone's okay. I got into the school. I got my girlfriend. I showed up the bullies. Everything's fine. Yeah, you'd lose that happily ever after.
But there's room to make it Top Gun level, definitely.
Well, that's certainly.
But they did have Top Gun to go by.
They did not have
Top Gun people. I'm sure they were probably being made at the same time. And it seems like Top Gun probably would have took longer to shoot beginning to end than Iron Eagle, no doubt about it. Seems like there's another whole year, production-wise on Top Gun than Iron Eagle for sure thing. It might be one of those things like, oh, they're making a fighter jet movie? We got to make a fighter jet movie. We got to get it out first. So it might have been what happened.
That might be the case, but like I said, I feel that it got hurt by being out first. I think it could have ridden the coattails.
On 100%. Definitely made more money in the box office. But I'm sure that's the reason why I got sequels, because the VHS was
right.
And back then, people think, oh, VHS, throwaway technology. But back then, a VHS cassette could run you between $80 to $120. It ain't like in the 80s, especially the early 80s, mid 80s, even up to the 90s. I don't think VHS really became affordable till the E.T. release came out. I remember that came out at $20 and that blew people's minds. Like, oh, I can get E.T. for $20? Which by 1987, 88, when it finally came out on VHS, it took like 5 or 6 years for that to even be available.
Right.
Like it blew people's minds. It was that cheap. And $20 is like $50, $60 right now. So, think of it on that level. I mean, new VHS cassettes were very, very expensive. That's the reason why you had to rent them.
Yeah, actually, Top Gun made the first affordable it had a Pepsi ad that played before it. And then that was like what they used to subsidize to make it cheaper.
But what do you think came out first, the E.T. or the Top Gun? Because I knew Top Gun played in theaters forever.
Yeah,
I know E.T. was like
when
late
it came
87,
out.
88, like around Christmas time.
It was around the same time. Yeah. I thought I had heard that Top Gun was the first like commercially available VHS tape, because like you said, they used to be very, very expensive because they would be purchased only by video stores to be rented out. So they would cost $100 a tape, because that's how Hollywood made their movie. And then they'd rent it out 40, 50 times at $3 a pop. And that's the business model back then. And then as far as I know, it was Top Gun was the first one to go like, hey, what happens if we sell these for $20 at Walmart? and sell them
Get
to
that
millions.
Pepsi money.
Yeah, so they
Nice.
had the commercial before, a little tie-in, and then that was what they used to subsidize to make it cheap. Because I remember, our parents bought Star Trek 2, and it was like $90, and then like
Wow, the Wrath of Khan.
early 80s money, which I mean that's a lot of money now. I mean, in 1983, like wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but back then, seeing you own the movie was a big thing.
Yeah,
like,
it was a big deal.
own this.
And it was on Betamax, by the way, not VHS.
Oh, that's the best one. Betamax.
Yeah.
Definitely better quality VHS any day of the week. Yeah, it seems like better quality formats never made it today's standards or even long ago, because Betamax was definitely better than VHS.
Yep, but you couldn't fit a whole football game on it.
No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. You had to get 2 tapes.
That's why.
No, they didn't have standard, long, and SLP, right?
Correct.
No, only low speed.
Right. That's why they say that VHS won. I mean, I've also heard that it's because porn adopted it, but honestly, I believe it's because people could set their VCR to like record the game while they were away, and you got much, much more record time out of a VHS tape. So I think that's why the VHS beat the Betamax. But anyway, in the midst of all that, we've got Iron Eagle 2, which came out in 1988. Still by TriStar, once again written and directed by Sidney Furie. Although what's interesting is, do you know the movie he made right between Iron Eagle 1 and Iron Eagle 2?
Fill us in.
Superman 4.
Woo, man, that's a stinker.
Yeah, that's bad.
You might hear us cover that one day. I have a feeling.
I really want to do one of those Superman movies.
Is that
Three
Solar
or
Man?
4.
4 Solar Man, right? Or is that 3? Which one has Solar Man? The guy who gets all his energy from the sun.
That is 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nuclear bomb. Okay,
the nuclear. Because the Cold War looms large.
Was he Nuclear Man or Solar Man?
Nuclear Man.
Nuclear Man. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a crap bomb.
Yes.
3's not bad. It was got Richard Pryor. And he makes the movie bearable. But
Barely.
yeah, 1 and 2 are the go-to Superman movies.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
3, the 4 is trash because there's even some special effects issues in that, right?
That was a movie where Canon Films that was making it ran out of money while they were making it.
Did they make 1 and 2 also?
No.
The budget just kept getting slashed and slashed while making it. So yeah, it was just ended up being terrible.
Yeah, 1 and 2 were Warner Brothers movies.
Okay, good.
And, Richard Donner, of course, directed at least 1. Did he direct 2 as well?
Or that's
got
the
taken
original.
away.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another Snyder cut situation. There's the Donner cut.
The Donner cut, that's right.
But Canon was kind of like the first to kind of start making superhero movies, especially on the Marvel side. Then they make the Punisher and the Captain America version.
They did, and they had the rights to Spider-Man.
Oh, that's crazy.
They did, and they just couldn't make it happen, thank God, because this would have been the 1980s, and they wanted to make Spider-Man a ninja. And they didn't have the budget for, like, the swinging on the webs and stuff. Like, did you ever see the 1970s Spider-Man show? Like, it would have been that level of special effects, where he basically is just a ninja.
The best people up to that point to do Spider-Man live action was the Electric Company. You know? I mean, can we agree that they were the best version of live action Spider-Man up until the Sam Raimi movies?
Up until the Sam Raimi
was the Electric Company.
Better than the
Publicly funded TV show.
Yes.
Yeah, the government had the best of something at one point. They had the best Spider-Man. It's insane to me.
The government had the best Spider-Man. So anyway, 1988, we do Iron Eagle 2. Like I said, also Sidney Furie, who are just hot off Superman 4, as I was saying.
Yeah, make it.
Louis Gossett Jr. comes back as Chappie. He survives the first one, and he's, of course, the lead of the second one. What's interesting is the kid, Jason Gedrick, does come back to reprise the role of Doug, but only in the first scene. He dies.
Yeah, Doug was slacking in between movies. His skills diminished.
And he is uncredited in the film.
Yeah, I was very surprised for that. Like, I was wondering, and I didn't find anything. Like, was there a contract dispute? Did the actor want too much? And they were like, oh, we're not going to pay that. We'll just kill him off in the first scene. Or did he not want to do it? And they're like, contractually, we own you. You got to make an appearance. So, it just felt really odd that he dies in the first scene. The movie didn't need for that to happen. You easily could have made a movie without, killing him off in the first scene. I really don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what happened. And the actor, I didn't see any big credits. Like, oh, I got this other movie I'm working on. I can give you 2 days, or whatever. Like, I'm really surprised.
And especially surprised that he went uncredited because I saw that on IMDb and I'm like, really? So I watched the end credits to see if that was the case. And sure enough, yeah, he's not listed in the end credits, even though like the reporter who debriefs them on the runway at the very end of the movie, she gets a credit. So it's like, you know, they're crediting very bit parts in the last credit scroll, but for some reason, Doug, the returning lead character in Iron Eagle, he is in fact the Iron Eagle that Iron Eagle is referring to, because that's his call sign of his club. And
he dies no problem. Like the enemy shooters have no problem killing him. He just put a fight
to rock and roll the thing.
Yeah, he puts it, let's blow the doors off Anchorage. You know, and it's probably the worst song you probably listen to while you die. Or, you know, the poor guy had the worst musical taste. That's what this says to me. So, you know, you really have, and there's zero, because the guy he's flying with, the Tom Cruise lookalike, which we have Dawn is
the character's name. I don't know the actor's name. I just put down budget Tom Cruise.
Very budget, big lots budget. Like, you know, that flea market that's not open on the weekend, but every day, Magic Mall, you know, near Pine Hills, Orlando. It's that place, like the everyday flea market. He's that, but we called him Tom Snooze.
Okay.
Not Tom Cruise, but Tom Snooze. His acting will put you to sleep. Anyway, this guy, believe it or not, is the main character of Iron Eagle 2. You know, is there a better actor you could have had that would make Iron Eagle 2 better? Yeah, of course. But because this guy kind of looks like Tom Cruise, but, you know, really not as charming as good looking as Tom Cruise, there's no character development between him and the OG Iron Eagle to even build any kind of like, you know, why should we care for this guy? They could have probably used another 20 minutes before this, you know, to kind of build that relationship more. Like, when did they become friends? How did they become friends? Because the guy's not in the first one, obviously.
Right.
So obviously, the guy meets in Air Force Academy or whatever. They're buddies now. They're flying. They're insinuating that they're close, but we don't know that. This guy probably, I mean, are there porn actors better than this guy? Probably so. I mean, no offense, my guy. Please don't hunt me down and try to beat me up or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think you know you mailed it in because I haven't seen anything ever again. But anyway, I mean, he does not really react the way even a guy you casually knew you're just working with dies. You know, it's a very unemotional, lacking scene in the very beginning. That's what they're building the whole movie on.
Yeah, and something else I marked down is, so right before that, so they're like in Alaskan airspace heading, you know, west. And Doug like casually like, all right, well, let's break the like G-force record. And so, yeah, they take off and they hit it with like 10 G or whatever with ease. He seems to do it very well. Like they should have been like passed out or whatever. Like this should have been a very hard thing. He does it very easily. And then next thing you know, now they're in Russian Air Force airspace. And then,
Can we
get
say
shot down quite easily.
Maybe Top Gun 2 still their beginning from is Iron Eagle 2 because he's got to go 10 Gs, right? Or 11 Gs to break the, you know, in the test pilot. You know, when Tom Cruise is in Top Gun 2, he's a test pilot. He's flying the new aircraft. Doesn't he kind of go like 10 or 11 Gs? So maybe. And there's also some other Top Gun 2.
We're going to get
Iron Eagle 2 comparisons. Yeah. So, hey, there's something strange going on.
Yeah.
Maybe Top Gun 2 is a direct sequel to Iron Eagle 2.
It could be, yeah. I mean, they're almost kind of like in a lot of ways. The porn version of Top Gun 2 is Iron Eagle 2, but it comes before Top Gun 2, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of similarities here. Kind of odd, isn't it?
Kind of odd. So, as Dave said, Iron Eagle 2 starts with Cooper and Doug. They are just joyriding. So they're on a routine patrol mission, but they're pushing their planes harder and harder. They say, the record for this thing is 9 Gs. So Cooper pushes his to 9.5 Gs. And so Doug pushes his to 10 Gs with the power of rock and roll. And in their carelessness of pushing Gs, they fly deep into Russian airspace where they get fired upon by 4 MiG fighters.
And first they get escorted.
Well, they're supposed to be getting escorted out, and they radio into base like, hey, MiGs have approached. And like, it's okay. Like, you're in their airspace. They're just going to escort you back to our airspace. It should be fine. But then one of the guys gets trigger happy.
Doug. He gets nervous.
No, I rewatched it. The Russians do fire first.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Russians do fire on Doug first. Then Doug fires on one of the Russian planes, downs it. And then the Russians then fire again on Doug and blow up and kill Doug, even though he is, you know, the star of the first movie. It's all built upon the likability of this young, plucky kid saving his dad, and you're really rooting for him. And 5 minutes into the sequel, he's blown up because of his own carelessness entering Russian airspace.
And it is hard to follow. Every fight scene in this movie is hard to follow.
They're not well photographed. They are not well, which is why I had to rewind it, because I was curious who fired first.
Yeah. Probably should have been Doug. You know, the Han Solo thing, you know?
Right.
You know, Han always fires first. That's the best thing.
Fires first.
Yeah.
We're all heard it here.
Yeah.
Hashtag. Yeah. So that's how Iron Eagle 2 starts. Then we cut to, it's a talk show. There's a general who's kind of like, or I'm sorry, the politician is on the talk show debriefing what happened. And the official story is that it was a training exercise accident, okay? That they weren't fired upon by Russians. They did not enter Russian airspace, but you know, these two pilots were having a training exercise. The plane malfunctioned on its own. That caused the death of Doug. And that is kind of like the compromise that the US government and the Russian government came up with. And I was watching it going, yeah, that's very reasonable. I mean, we certainly entered their airspace first. Yeah. There were shots exchanged. I mean, yeah, our guy was the guy who died, but, you know, we did provoke it. So I feel like that was a reasonable compromise. But there's a Air Force general who talks to the politician when he gets out of the talk show, and he's like, no, this is unacceptable. We can't cover this up. We got to retaliate. And he's like, well, no, we're going through diplomatic channels to resolve this. We're not just going to start World War III over it. And I'm sitting there watching it going, yeah, this is all very good, but that is unacceptable to this particular general. Now, what's interesting is I felt at this moment that the movie was going to take the tone that we need to avenge Doug, and that the general is right that we should retaliate against Russia, because this is made in 1988. The Cold War is still raging, even though the collapse of the Soviet Union is only 2 years away. So that's the track I thought it was going to take. This movie actually ends up being quite a bit more progressive than I expected, because in the end, we learned that that is the exact opposite of what this movie really is. So then we go to Chappie after that, and what's up with Chappie?
Chappie's obviously into his music. He has better music than Doug at this point. Chappie's feeling it. You know, you just see a guy from behind, you know, shaking it back and forth, having a good time. Then he's approached by a general.
The same general who we just saw.
Yeah, for a special mission. Yes, so, you know, that's what Chappie's up to. He's fixing planes. He's still doing the same job. Life is back to normal for Chappie. Nothing's changed. And now he's offered a mission where he will get 1 star.
Yeah,
he'll be a 1-star general.
Be a 1-star general. And what's funny is, watching at the time, I was like, why would they choose Chappie for this mission? He's still in the Air Force Reserve, obviously not court-martialed for taking part in the, very unsanctioned attack on a sovereign nation. I'm like, this is the last guy that you should recruit to fly a very sensitive mission. Well, we find out that that is very much by design later.
Yeah, because then is that now when we head to Israel, where they're joined, and we see Cooper arrive, and it was a Dark Star or something.
Yeah, that's the folder. This is very muddy too, so if you can explain it, that'd be great.
So this is where, the movie, so they go to Israel, and we know it's a secret, like, this is a very important mission. And it feels, very ragtag. It felt very, like, you're expecting the best of the best for the secret mission, and it felt very Stripes energy, like,
absolutely,
like the 80s Stripes. So there's some, like, goofiness, in the little barracks or whatnot. And I was like, wait, what? Isn't this some highly, like, sensitive mission? Why do we have these bumbly idiots? Yeah, and Cooper, he's there now to, I guess, regain his, strength or whatever, that he's now back in good graces, I guess.
Right.
And so then they're there, and then that's when then the Russians show up.
Right.
So now this, they come marching in, and now, so then I was like, oh, is this like ragtag American group versus the stuffy top, Russians? I'm like, is that where this movie's going?
Right. It's not clear at this point.
And it's not clear, like, why they're in Israel. And they assume that the Russians are the Israelis that they're teaming up with. And this kind of gets money to me because I just lose track of like, I didn't even know until you said it this whole time that they're in Israel.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
So they go to an Israeli base for this top secret mission.
And then there some like some on Kansas joke or something.
Right.
And then then there's like they're there in the barracks and like the alarm's going off and they're like Russian planes and they're like freaking out and then no, like the Russian planes land like the Russians are supposed to be there when they walk in. So it's supposed to be very even probably to the audience shocking that you have Americans and Russians together.
And they're trying to make it funny because, when they hear the jet engines, which they think's Israelis, and the guy goes, no, that's 2 turbines. Those are big.
Yeah, they're big.
And they're all running out thinking they're getting attacked. And, it's supposed to be like comedy, but it's really not that funny. And Louis Gossett Jr. stops in their chat and say, hey, look, you idiots. So, that's where they missed. They were trying to go for comedy, but I don't think it worked. Did it work for you guys? Did you laugh at that?
No, yeah. Like I said, it was weird slapsticky, very like it's supposed to be Stripes, but then it's not funny. Yeah.
And then there's the Russians that are there, and then there's the one guy that's like trying to sell them shirts, the American guy. Yeah, and it's like a Jersey guy or whatever. He's like, hey, get these shirts.
And as far as I know, being an American fighter pilot's a good payday.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger wore this. Yeah. He's like trying to sell the Russians like, oh, okay.
Well, first off, he takes their blankets and replaces them with horrible blankets.
Yeah.
And of course and we forgot in the beginning, like out of those Russian MiGs that were flying, you only see one of their faces and you're like, oh, that's the guy that shot down Doug. And he's one of the Russians that end up showing up to the, the ragtag group.
Of course. Further complicate that.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, this is the guy that shot down his boy. Yeah. It's going to be a showdown between these guys. Then they bring out the one hot
female fighter pilot.
Like there's a Russian version of each one of these American guys. You got the paint guy who I found out was older than Louis Gossett Jr. in this movie, or around the same age. Yeah, he looked
felt
old.
very out of place. I'm like, wait, what is this guy? You should be in all the top physical physique, and
he was 41 at the time. Yeah, so he wasn't too far from Louis Gossett Jr. I think there's only 2 years age difference. And so every version of the American in this, you have an opposing, almost carbon copy Russian version.
Well, except the Russians are actually competent and
100%
suited and qualified for their mission. So they bring them into the briefing room and they tell them that the plot of this movie, they said in those words, the plot of this movie is this, that there's a mission, unnamed Middle Eastern nation.
Another one.
Yeah, don't go. Yeah. Same unnamed Middle Eastern nation from Fleer or yet another unnamed Middle Eastern nation. Because again, I was like, wait, what country did they just say? I rewound it twice. They never do officially say the country. Has finally obtained nuclear capabilities. And this particular unnamed Middle Eastern nation has threatened to use nukes against both the Russians and the Americans.
But there's a lot of moments in this movie where I think there's one too many moments in this movie where they just don't get along and everything ends up being in a fight. Yeah. Even with the first mission, they kind of still see from Top Gun, the Russians are, trying to fly, the right way, the way you're supposed to fly, spread out, safe. There's one kid who's like the leader. I forget his name, but it's not Tom Snooze. It's another guy. He sees more straight edge. Oh, what was his name? Remember his name on top of her head?
I don't. Yeah, I'm trying to.
He seems like the most straight edge of this ragtag group.
Well, he is, but he always crumples under pressure and experiences.
Yeah. But you didn't know it at this point, though, on the first mission. So anyway, he's trying to get everybody in line. He's probably the only one American. He's probably like, has it up in the head. So you're thinking, what's wrong with this guy? How is he ragtag? So we don't know that yet. So he's trying to get everybody to fly in a single V formation, which they say is the easiest formation. And then the other Americans want to fly like real tight next to the Russians, kind of like intimidate them. So you got what you assume is the Russian bad guy who shot down Doug, and you got the hot female Russian pilot, who Tom Snooze ends up having a thing for, that you've seen early on, some eye contact, all that classic movie tropes. So one of the, Americans peel off. She gets caught in the Top Gun, jet wash. Yeah. And so she's free falling, but she's able to recover. And then, you find out right away that pissed off Louis Gossett Jr. and his opposing Russian counterpart, who's in the same position as he is for the Russians. They're pissed off at the fact that they couldn't get that right. It's a simple flying formation.
So,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. They had every right to be pissed.
Then the whole twist is, that the general from the beginning, who was so upset that we made peace with the Russians, once he learned about this mission that we would be working together with the Russians, he handpicked all the wrong people for the mission so that we would screw it up.
But yeah, because that was the same thing. Like, I was mad at this movie that this is supposed to be, this top, like this very difficult mission. Why they have these guys as the
Getting why hire Chappie?
Yeah, so I was just mad, confused. So I did not see the twist that they wanted that mission to fail, because I believe they wanted to just like carpet bomb that country. Like,
Well, and they
just
did
take
get
out
the goodwill. Russia and the U.S. doing it together.
Yeah, so they wanted that to fail so that he could then just go in and bomb or invade or do whatever. So he's like, we'll make this mission fail. And then once
very muddy.
Yeah, so once that twist happened, then I was like, oh, that fell. I did not see the twist coming. So I was angrily writing notes, angry at this movie, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, I see what you did there.
So, the second act is then preparing for the big mission and having all of these little standoffs, these little skirmishes. Anyway, culminating with them finally doing the final trench run. And we learn that the lieutenant, who is the wing commander, not Cooper, the one who, like Tim says, seems very competent and, capable up until that point. But we learn that he does crumple under pressure because he's very claustrophobic and he can't handle flying through canyons, and they have to fly through the canyons so that they can bomb the vent. It's basically, if you've seen the last act of Star Wars, they got to Star Wars this thing. They got to go in through the trench run and drop the photon torpedo right down
a vent, and they don't hide it. We got to hit this vent. Everything's a vent. Vents are the biggest weakness of any structure on the planet.
Apparently. So anyway, while they're doing the canyon run, he panics under pressure. He flies into the canyon wall, kills himself. And then that's when this general or Department of Defense guy, I'm not quite sure who he is, comes in and says, okay, great. Yeah, looks like you guys failed. This is also, as everything comes to a boil with the Russians and the Americans infighting, Cooper almost killing the female pilot with his little stunt. And so they're like, maybe we should just pull the plug and do the carpet bombing plan. And he's like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. And Lewis
he smells a rat.
Pulls everyone's files and realizes that everyone's file has a problem, including the lieutenant. It's clearly in this, his dossier. He shouldn't be there. None of them should be there. And he's like, oh, I get it. We were set up.
Yeah, and it's all, he didn't sniff this out sooner. I felt like that was awful to get. Yeah.
So finally, he confronts the general. What have you done? You've set us up. And he's like, yeah, well, too bad. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. or whatever, the bombers are flying. So if the mission hasn't happened before then, it's going to be canceled. And then that's when Louis Gossett rouses his American troops, his Russian troops, and he's like basically telling them, like, look, we were set up to fail. They want us to fail. This is our one chance to bring our nations together, to fly under one flag united. Not about being American or Russian, blah, 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 blah.
So what brings these people together? All right. And I thought it was pretty good right here. I thought this was a great decision. So the guy who dies in the canyon, the guy who's probably the most straight edge American, he just had a problem, with claustrophobic. He was an artist that whole time and drawing pictures. So when he dies, they have the funeral, and the Russian and American people go to the barracks and they're looking at all his drawings and all the fun they were having. They're a great cartoon. They look at character, big head, little body stuff. And it's really a touching scene. They're playing good music. Everybody's looking at their, the times they had together. It's like, okay, they're having this sovereign moment. And then, Louis Gossett Jr. finds out, he smells a rat. He realizes that they're a bunch of ragtag, no good American, misbehaving. Yeah. And so you act like Louis Gossett Jr. comes out there and gives a rousing speech. No. Louis Gossett Jr. does it Louis Gossett Jr. style. He goes up to the Russian counterpart. He's getting drunk on vodka, very stereotypical. So he goes up to him and he tells him, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? You realize, and Louis Gossett Jr. is like, they set us up to fail. Oh, God damn it. It's a great line of it. It was beautiful. And so, he's like, he tells the Russian guy, he's like, have your team ready in the morning. So it's the morning time. They're all together. Louis Gossett Jr. drives up in a Jeep, Uzi in each hand. You know what I'm saying? It's very important there. And so he's like, all right, you guys want to fight? You want to settle this? He's like, here, grab a gun. He hands it to an American. Then he hands one to the Russian. He's like, shoot each other. He did the tank guys, the two guys that hate each other the most. They didn't pull the trigger. The one guy just fires it into the ground, you know? They just like, you know, still playing tough guy, but, you know, they realize that they're closer now, that tragedy brought them together. Then he goes to Cooper, and he goes to the Russian guy you think's a villain, you know? And so he hands them the guns. So, you know, they don't fire on each other either. They don't even grab them. Gossett Jr.'s got in his hands. So, you know, he's like, okay, you guys don't want to kill each other? Well, it's time to work together. You know, so that's what kind of brings them together. They take off their flags. And I don't know if it's before or after that scene that the Russian guy comes up. He goes, you think that I shot down your friend? He goes, that wasn't my missile. You know, so that's why, you know, they have that moment between them to where they hash it out now. Yeah. And the love affair is still going on between Cooper and the Russian girl at this point. So now, after they float down the American and Russian flags on the ground, which is kind of a cool scene.
Oh, yeah.
Then, like, when I saw the feel of the commingled flags in the dirt, that's where I was like, this is incredibly progressive for a 1988 movie. Like, this is during the Cold War.
Yeah, so there's no flags on this final mission. It's just a team.
And then when they are wearing flags after the mission concludes and they're like being, you know, awarded and stuff, if you notice,
it's half American, half Russian.
On the same flag, at the half and half flag. So very.
I think you can find those on eBay. That'd be pretty cool. Iron Eagle. Is it Smoking Aces? Is that the third one? It's something Aces.
Probably
Flying Aces. Okay, yeah. We'll get to that later.
So we'll get to the final act. The final act is they do the trench run. Of course, they're, you know, flying through the trench run. Very Star Wars 1. While at the same time, so there are members of the team that are running the tank.
Yeah, ground support. That's where it gets muddy. It just gets so confusing.
I'm like, okay, so they're doing a Star Wars 1 and a Star Wars 3 at the same time because they have to take out the shield generator on the moon of Endor or else, you know.
Yeah, the missiles.
They won't be able to do the trench run.
Yeah.
So you got the tanks, they have to take out the surface-to-air missile system so that the planes could do the trench run. So they're doing a Star Wars 1 and a Star Wars 3 at the same time. I kept waiting for the Ewoks to show up and help them with their mission. They never did show up. But in the end, you know, yeah, what can I say? They're successful. They blow up, you know. It's not Cooper who makes the shot. It's the Russian fighter element. So, you know, yeah, they're successful at the mission. They all work together. They put aside their differences. You know, stopped the unnamed Middle Eastern nation from developing their nuclear program. And then in the end, of course, you've got Cooper, and he's sad because he has to break up with his Russian fighter pilot girlfriend now. And that's when they say, no, actually, we're going to Moscow here in a week to be part of the pilot exchange program. We're sending you guys to Moscow. We're all friends now. The Cold War's over.
Yeah, but in typical Louis Gossett Jr. fashion, you know, oh, you didn't hear about next Tuesday? You know, so he thinks he's going, his girlfriend's going away to Russia. And he's like, oh, you don't know about next Tuesday? Yeah, oh, I didn't tell you about next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, they got a joint mission together, you know, to keep the, you know, the superpowers. But they've probably seen the effect that when Rocky said, if I can change, you can change, we can all change. So, you know, that probably had a bigger effect on the Cold War than anything. Rocky saying that at the end of Rocky, saying, hey, we could be friends here. You know, we don't have to be enemies. We don't have to kill each other, you know, over communism and capitalism. No, we could be friends. You like jeans, we like jeans. You like rock and roll, we like rock and roll. We can make it work. We could probably say Hollywood ended the Cold War more so than anything the American government. Of course, the American government funded some of these movies. So, yeah, so, you know, Hollywood had a big part to do with the downfall of, you know, the Iron Curtain.
Yeah. So I want to say, again, kudos to this film for taking, you know, again, the progressive opinion that America isn't the best necessarily. We should all work together. Not the stance I was expecting it to take going into this film. Is it an equal sequel? No, I still think Iron Eagle 1 is the superior film.
But it's close. It's not as far behind as others we've done. It's maybe the closest one.
Yeah, I mean, hot take. I think I like this one more than the first. I think so. I think I enjoyed it more. By the time we got to that third act, I was all in at that point. I just wrote third act is cool. Like I just kind of gave up. I was angry, like I said, writing notes, and I was like, third act people. So the twist got me. The flags, it got me. I mean, the first one is definitely more entertaining and definitely more that 80s.
Yeah, this one doesn't feel as
time capsule.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, the fun of fun '80s, but yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of liked it more.
That's a hot take, man. I was warming up to that one, man. That was warming up.
Oh, so you're saying this could be a sequel that isn't that equal?
It could be. I mean, like I said, there was some very odd choice. Like I said, killing Doug in the opening scene and having the anchor be uncredited. Yeah, something happened. I'd love if some sleuth out there knows. Please reach us in the comments. I'd love to know.
Yeah. So final note on Iron Eagle 2, it was so successful they in fact made an Iron Eagle 3 and then a straight-to-video Iron Eagle.
Yeah, I'm having a feeling this was big on the post VHS market. And I mean, I know you don't have. I don't think there's even a way to get VHS numbers because a lot of these movies might have to look that up. But I mean, I'm sure this movie made way more than $10.5 million in post VHS days.
Oh well, that's just the box office.
Yeah,
box office $10.5 million off a $15 million budget, so it didn't make its money at the box office. Obviously, did well enough in home video that they went on to make 2 sequels. And Sidney Furet wasn't directing the 3rd one, but he actually even came back for the 4th one. So he was very involved in the series. And they even bring back the character of Doug.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that now because that has got to be really bad. I bet. The 4th one where, they mysteriously bring Doug back.
Any final thoughts on Iron Eagle 2?
Well, Iron Eagle 2 definitely was Maverick took basically the same ending, pretty much without the ground support. They got to fly through cannons, take down a missile system so they can shoot a missile down a vent. So, I mean, it's almost a lot of ways reminiscent to Iron Eagle 2 in the Maverick, which, I know I seen Iron Eagle 2 back in the day, didn't retain the information from it, but now seeing it again and loving Maverick Top Gun, it's like basically they stole the ending to Iron Eagle 2 for Top Gun. I mean, it's blatant, and which both of them stole from Star Wars and, George Lucas. So,
Right. All right, well, that's all we've got this week. Please join us next week and we talk about yet another sequel that is not equal. See you then.